Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, is a man who was part of the news break this morning from, I believe, one of the hardest golf courses on earth, right there in the hills of Pittsburgh. Ladies and gentlemen, senior NFL insider for ESPN, Adam Schefter. Schefter, we'll get to you golfing at Oakmont here in a bit, and you being in Plum, our hometown, which we hope you go pay your respects to Rudy Subs, get a whole Italian hot lettuce, onion, mayo, fries, cheese on the side, Turner's jug to go. Let's talk about this deal. We just showed that $1 million worth of game clip from 2021, and D-Butch has talked about Jalen Ramsey in very high regard whenever it comes to being a D-back in the NFL, with how athletic he is, how diverse he is, how everything really comes together if they let him. Are the Steelers planning on utilizing Jalen Ramsey in any certain ways, do we know at this point? And Minka heading out of town, what does that mean for the Steelers following that?
Well, it means they have an opening at safety. They've been very active this offseason in adding Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey. I think it gives them options in the secondary, Pat, about how they want to go about doing this. Obviously, Joey Porter Jr. also is there. They've got a ton of defensive backs right now. And it always felt to me like Pittsburgh was the most likely destination. It never felt like the Rams or the Chargers were going to be able to do their part financially to make a trade like this happen. The Steelers not only made it happen, but gave Jalen Ramsey a raise for this coming season. So that tells you how much they wanted him. They've been talking about him all along. It becomes a very complicated trade here, certainly for the time of the year that we're in, the last day of June. You get a trade like this that involves two players who have been three-time All-Pro selections. And you see Minka Fitzpatrick on that initial list of Steelers start. Well, he was a part of the deal. Steelers wanted Jonnu Smith to reunite him with Arthur Smith. They get him in this package as well. And I mean, to me, it says, yes, Pittsburgh is going all in, spending whatever it takes. They go and get Aaron Rodgers. They go and get Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. It has been a very unconventional Steelers-like offseason with all the players that they've added, including DK Metcalf. This is like a remade roster. The one question I have in all of this now is, and we haven't talked about it a whole lot, what about TJ Watt?
Yeah.
Everybody just has assumed, rightfully, that the two sides will figure it out. But I don't think they're very close right now. And I don't think that he's particularly pleased. Now, it could change just like that, and they could figure out a way to get it done. But you know what? They just gave Jonnu Smith more money. They just gave Jalen Ramsey more money. They haven't given TJ Watt more money. And you just wonder how that's going to play out here in the coming weeks. Again, he's such a part of the team, you cannot imagine him not being there.
Yes.
But you would think that this situation would be settled by now, and it's not.
Yeah, I agree, Schefter. And I would like to let everybody know that if you were to go back and watch the tape, I would ask on a very regular basis, hey, if everything's good, why is TJ not there? You know, if everything's just going to be A-OK, why does he feel obligated to take a $170,000 fine of missing mandatory minicamp? If everything was okay, you would think a guy who's a staple and a pillar of the team would have been there. I'm not saying there's any issues, but I've just asked the question on a regular basis because, like, everybody else is saying they think a deal's going to get done. I think TJ not going is him saying, is it? I don't know if a deal's going to get done. And now let's get back to the point of what you said there about paying Jalen more money and Jonnu more money. Kaboli put this tweet up here. Kaboli said, well, he's been told the Steelers view Jonnu Smith as a tight end, a slot wide receiver, and a fullback. They will use him in a very hybrid way in Arthur Smith's offense. And they see Jalen Ramsey as an outside corner, slot corner, and he can take some snaps at safety, says Mark Kaboli. With that being said, if you're going to utilize the shit out of him, you would obviously want to pay them more. I thought a lot of people didn't want Jalen because they didn't want to pick up the entirety of the contract. Do we know if they've picked up all the money from both these contracts, or are the Miami Dolphins having to pay any bills?
Yeah, I don't know the full breakdown of that. There have been a lot of missed calls in this flurry of activity, and I don't have the full answer to that at this particular time. Yeah, Pat, I got to tell you something. It was a very surreal scene, right? I've never been to Oakmont. I get invited. I'm in your backyard here in Plum, Pennsylvania.
Hell yeah.
And I walk into the locker room, and the only thing I wanted to see was, where did Wyndham Clark kick in that locker? Is it still here, right? So I took a picture of it. I could send it over. We could put it up. It's still there. And some of the members want to fix it. I'm like, you can't fix that. So I walk in. I see the locker, and right when I walk in, I see Neil Shipley, the great former amateur golfer who's on tour, and he's incredible. Like, I've watched Neil Shipley all the time, and I'm talking to Neil Shipley, and I get the trade that Jalen's going down, and I go to post. You know what I learned about Oakmont? The men's locker room? No Wi-Fi, because I was posting for a few minutes, and it wasn't going through, and then I went running out to go post it. So there's no Wi-Fi in the men's. You're not missing anything there, Pat, but this place is pretty magical. So the trades all come down, whole flurry of activity. Again, the Steelers have stepped up, and they're paying all these guys right now, except T.J. Watt. I mean, that's really the deal right now. And Miami's made a lot of changes here with a lot of team captains that are no longer there in Miami. So it becomes very interesting for them as well. Big change you're not expecting here in late June.
Calais Campbell also not there, obviously. We talked about that was like the beginning of this entire thing whenever Gumpy was losing his mind. Go ahead, comment.
Armstead, I forget if that he was mentioned. He's one of their captains, too. I think someone tweeted it was 4 of their 5 captains or 3 of their 5 captains are gone now.
Interesting to see how it goes. Jalen Ramsey is now the 4th Dolphins captain. You actually tweeted it, Schefter. Yeah, okay, smart. From last season, no longer on the team in 2025. Armstead, Calais Campbell, and David Long. Go ahead, D-Bud.
Yeah, I believe Tyreek Hill was a captain last year, too, and I don't think he'll be a captain going into this year. I think he said he's got to earn that respect back with the team. What is the relationship right now with Tyreek Hill and the Miami Dolphins?
The way I understand it, I think people are counting on him bouncing back, having a big season. He's got a lot to prove. I'm sure with all the money going around to wide receivers, he's going to want to get paid again. I think Tyreek Hill has a chance to really bounce back and have a big-time kind of year. I think that's what people in the organization are expecting out of him this upcoming season. It'll be up to him to do that, but again, a lot of changes around him, and they're counting on Tyreek Hill to come through.
Okay, so the only thing we're really thinking about here or trying to figure out is if Miami's paying any of Jalen's salary, right? That is still potentially a piece of information we don't know?
I would think that they're paying something. I mean, I think Jalen gets more money out of this, and I think they had a finagle. I can't imagine that the Steelers took on the entire contract and gave him a raise. That would not be, in my mind, something that's practical, I don't think, but again, you have to see how it played out.
Okay, and Omar Khan, Mike Tomlin, you might go visit them downtown, or you can go down to UPMC. Are they done in this whole department? Obviously, T.J. Watt lingering, and do you think this is going to be the new norm for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well, this is not what they've done, and I think that they have to be done because there really is no other priority other than T.J. Watt. And this team, there has not been a team in the league the last couple of years that has inquired about and checked into more wide receivers than the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think that's what we're seeing here with Jonnu Smith being viewed as a weapon because they wanted somebody else to step forward. They're expecting that Calvin Austin's going to be their number 2 wide receiver. From what I understand, Roman Wilson, the former second-round draft pick from Michigan, has looked strong during OTAs for whatever that's worth. And now you get a guy like Jonnu Smith to mix in with DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, Robert Woods. And I think that they feel like this guy can be shifted all around. Arthur Smith knows how to use him. It's the 3rd different franchise that Arthur Smith has worked with Jonnu Smith. They were together in Tennessee. They were together in Atlanta. And now they'll be together in Pittsburgh again. And I think, they got Aaron coming in at quarterback. And when you're doing that, you're trying to do everything you can to give him one last run in what looks like is his last season. So they seem to be all in with that one lingering issue that's outstanding right now.
Darius Slay missing from the graphic. That was on us, not on Dirty. You put this together. This thing looks filthy, but also to get to learn about the Pittsburgh football culture, too. Like what it's going to be like to be a Pittsburgh Steeler and learn the building. Going to be great to have them in the city. You talk about wide receivers and the Steelers snooping around on them. There's one big name at wide receiver position that there's still a convo about before you tee off at Oakmont, and I assume shoot at 250?
Oh.
I think you might be generous. You might be about 275.
Go ahead, Ty.
Shefty, last time we talked to you, we mentioned how Terry McLaurin and Washington are pretty far apart on his new contract. He's not happy about that. Has there been any progress with that whole situation, or do you have any kind of update there?
That's a tough one. I know there's no update, which is the update, and that's the problem. The problem is with this particular situation, I think Terry McLaurin is going to argue that we've seen other wide receivers who his numbers are comparable to, like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and DK Metcalf, get paid over $30 million a year this offseason. And I think the Commanders then can say yes, but Mike Evans, who also has had comparable numbers, is at $24 million. So there really is quite a difference and a gap between what both sides would want. They have not made any progress. I would think that we'll see if there are any teams that decide to come snooping around Terry McLaurin to see if they could try to pry loose Terry McLaurin, who, by the way, I cannot envision the Commanders moving on from, no matter how disgruntled he may be. Again, it's sort of like T.J. Watt. You can't imagine that these two sides, as far apart as they are today, wouldn't be able to somehow find a way to bridge their differences and figure out a solution. But today, McLaurin and the Commanders are not close. Watt and the Steelers are not close. And those will be two of the storylines that we are tracking as we get ready for training camp.
Couple great players. We'd love to see them play for the Indianapolis Colts at quite a discounted rate. And welcome them to our city.
Pat, every team in the league would love to see Terry McLaurin or T.J. Watt playing in their city. Everybody.
Not as much in Indianapolis, though.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Indianapolis wants them more than the other cities.
Yeah, J.W. Marriott will put a picture of both of them on
That's
there.
right.
It looks cool.
They would have to play at quite a discounted rate, I would say. And it would certainly be a year to prove it, but we'd love to have them. All right, Schefty, good luck out there, man. How is your game?
Terrible. I was walking down with Neil Shipley. I'm like, what will you shoot today? He goes, about a 70, give or take a few strokes either way. 67 if I'm playing well. 73. I said, there he is. Hey, come on.
Big dog.
See that?
Hey, how you doing, man? Good to see you, dude.
Yeah, you can't. I got my earbuds in, so otherwise.
Hey, Schefter, will you translate for us? Hey, will you tell him that we think he looks good, and it's great to see him, great hair?
They think you look great, and they love your hair. They think I should be.
Thank you, Neil. All right, good luck out there.
He's shooting at 67 today. I'm shooting about 167
Hey,
today.
can you ask him how similar it is to when the U.S. Open was there, how it is today? Like how you're going to play on it versus...
Neil, is it similar to the way the U.S. Open was when they play here now or not?
Close. It's a little shorter now.
Close. The rough is a little shorter, he says.
Okay, and ask him, how do I become a member at that place? I just got to pay the fee? I got to get invited?
You know what? I was actually going to talk to people, but I don't want to overstep my bounds. Pat wants to know what he has to do to get out here and play around.
I'll be a member.
This is awesome.
We got to get that done. We're going to work on that, Pat. I'm here 2 days, okay? And by the way...
Are you staying there?
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That would be if I.
There it is.
I don't know how
That's
you
the
become
dream.
a member,
On
but
the
that
course?
in
That's the dream. Yeah.
I've never even been there. I've never even.
A huge shout out to Joe Schmidt and Steven Eisenberg who invited Pat. I don't know what I'm doing. Like
Eisenberg and Schmidt, the boys.
Come on now.
Obviously,
can you come out? I'm like, sure, I got nothing going on. Like, there's nothing going to happen in the NFL. It's not like there's going to be 3 players traded in the morning that I go to Oakmont. It's not like I'm going to walk into the locker room and see Neil Shipley. It's not like I'm going to be admiring Wyndham Clark.
Hey, what up, dude?
Oh, look at this guy.
How we doing, dude?
With 2.
Hey, how's Michigan doing? How we looking?
He wants to know how's Michigan doing.
Great.
He's great. Kick everybody's ass.
That's Wink, defense coordinator from Michigan, obviously formerly of the Baltimore Ravens and the New York Giants.
He's in my foursome today, too.
That's Oakmont, baby.
That's one of the greatest minds in the history of ball right there, that guy. Also, grade A good time haver.
Yeah.
Grade A. All right, we appreciate the hell out of you, Schefter. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Schefter.
Yeah,